Welcome to today's touching story. If you love stories about love, forgiveness, and the power of faith, hit the subscribe button now so you don't miss any of our videos. The night blanketed the city with faint streetlights piercing through a thin layer of mist. On a quiet street in a modest neighborhood, Emma Carter hurried along, carrying bags of groceries for her grandmother. The cold wind whistled through the old buildings, but her mind was too occupied with overdue bills and the sting of recent job rejections to notice the weather. Not far away, Julian Hayes, one of the city's wealthiest and most powerful figures, was driving his luxury car down the deserted streets. A prolonged meeting and heavy thoughts about his life caused him to lose control of the wheel. A sharp screech echoed through the night as the car veered off course, crashing into a lamppost before flipping onto its side. Smoke began to rise from the hood, shattering the stillness of the night. Emma froze, her eyes wide, staring in the direction of the terrifying sound. Without hesitation, she dropped her bags to the ground and ran toward the car. The scene that greeted her made her heart race. A sleek car lay on its side, its windows shattered, thick black smoke billowing from the hood. "Is anyone in there?" Emma shouted, trying to mask the fear in her voice. "I'm here!" A weak voice called out from inside the vehicle. Bending down to peer through the shattered window, she saw a man slumped against the driver's seat, his face streaked with blood, and his suit disheveled, clearly belonging to a world far removed from her own. But Emma had no time to wonder about his identity. "You have to get out now. The car could explode at any moment." Emma yanked at the car door, but it was jammed tight. Undeterred, she found a large rock nearby, smashed the remaining glass, and used all her strength to pry the door open. The man, though injured, tried to assist her, his voice raspy from the smoke. "My seatbelt! It's stuck!" he gasped, his breaths uneven. Without hesitation, Emma reached in and pulled at the seatbelt with her bare hands, her trembling fingers fueled by sheer determination. After several attempts, she finally managed to free him. She helped him out of the car, and the two stumbled away just moments before the vehicle erupted into a blazing fireball. Both collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. Julian turned to Emma, his eyes filled with a mix of astonishment and gratitude. "You just saved my life," he said, his voice still weak but full of sincerity. "Just doing the right thing," Emma replied, paying no mind to the intensity of his gaze. "You need medical attention. I'll call an ambulance." Julian shook his head, attempting to stand despite his unsteady legs. "No need, I'm fine." "Fine? You just escaped a burning car. Stop pretending to be tough. You need medical care." But Julian, with his usual pride, refused. He didn't want the incident to go public due to personal reasons and media concerns. Emma frowned at his stubbornness. "You're impossible. At least let me help you to a safe spot." Reluctantly, Julian agreed, leaning on Emma as they moved toward a nearby bench. While he caught his breath, Emma checked her pockets for her phone, briefly thinking about the groceries she had left behind. "You really don't need to do more for me. I'll manage," Julian said, studying her face intently. "You look like someone who's definitely not managing," Emma replied bluntly. Julian gave a faint smile, a rare gesture since the accident. "I owe you a great debt. What's your name?" "Emma," she replied curtly, her guarded eyes meeting his. "Emma, I'm Julian. I want to thank you for saving me," he said, pausing as his expression turned serious. "If you ever need anything at all, don't hesitate to contact me." Emma waved him off, shaking her head. "I don't need anything from you. It was just the right thing to do." Julian raised an eyebrow, unaccustomed to rejection. "Are you sure? I can help." "No," Emma interrupted. "You should focus on taking care of yourself. Goodbye." Before Julian could say another word, Emma stood and walked away, leaving him seated on the bench, gingerly tending to his wounds. He watched her slim figure vanish into the night, an inexplicable mix of admiration and intrigue swirling within him. What do you think of Emma's courageous act in saving Julian on that fateful night? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. It was not ordinary gratitude. Emma saved him without expecting any benefit in return. This left Julian, a man who had experienced many relationships based on self-interest, unable to stop thinking about her. A thought flashed in Julian's mind. She's unlike anyone I've ever met. But who is Emma? And why does she refuse everything like that? That night, lying on the hotel's hospital bed, Julian couldn't sleep. The image of Emma, with her resolute eyes and brave heart, lingered in his mind, marking the beginning of an emotional journey he never anticipated. Julian Hayes, a man accustomed to controlling every aspect of his life, found himself swept into something beyond his grasp. Emma Carter. From the night she saved him from the burning car, the image of her determined eyes and trembling yet resolute hands had never left his thoughts. On the first morning after the accident, still lying in his hotel room, Julian held his phone, scrolling through news about the incident. However, there wasn't a single mention of Emma. This left him both surprised and relieved. Determined to learn more about her, he called Simon, his trusted assistant. "I need you to find someone," Julian said, his voice low and firm. "Who, sir?" Simon asked, accustomed to his boss's unusual request. "A girl named Emma Carter. She lives near the East Side Park in the city. Keep this discreet. I just need information about her." Simon asked no further questions, quietly taking notes before getting to work. Just a day later, Simon returned with a detailed report. Julian sat in his office, his eyes fixed on the file before him. "Emma Carter, 24 years old," Simon began reading the details. "She lives with her grandmother, Mrs. Donna Rose, 78, who suffers from chronic illness and requires regular medication. Emma has worked several part-time jobs but is currently unemployed, actively searching for work to make ends meet." Julian sat in silence as he read through the rest of the file. Emma's modest home, where rent took up most of the budget, along with medical expenses and utility bills, left them with barely anything to spare. He felt a sense of empathy he hadn't expected. "Did you find out why she refused help?" Julian asked, his eyes filled with curiosity. Simon shook his head. "Not clearly, sir, but she seems to be someone with a strong sense of pride." Julian was silent for a moment before turning to Simon. "Arrange for her to get a job opportunity at the company. Don't let it be known that I'm behind this." Simon nodded and began making arrangements. Emma received a call one morning as she was preparing to leave for a job interview. She froze when she heard the warm voice of a woman on the line. "Hello, Ms. Carter. This is Marta Silva from Hayes Enterprises. We happened upon your profile and would like to invite you for an interview for an administrative assistant position." Emma's jaw dropped. Hayes Enterprises? That was one of the largest corporations in the country. How did they know about her? "Are you sure you've got the right person?" Emma asked, her voice full of doubt. "There's no mistake, ma'am. We believe you're a good fit. The interview will take place tomorrow at 10 a.m. Will you be available?" Emma hesitated. This was a huge opportunity, but also shrouded in questions. Still, she couldn't let her doubts stop her from giving it a shot. "Okay, I'll be there," she replied. The next morning, Emma entered the towering skyscraper of Hayes Enterprises. The overwhelming sight of the modern and professional environment filled her with nervousness. She adjusted her simple blouse, reminding herself not to show any signs of unease. The interview went more smoothly than she had expected. Marta Silva, the HR manager, was very friendly and made her feel comfortable. When Marta smiled and said, "We are pleased to have you on board," Emma could hardly believe her ears. On her first day at work, Emma walked into the office with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Her face lit up as she received her employee badge from Marta. Everyone around seemed busy with their tasks, but the professional atmosphere made Emma feel as though she was standing at an important turning point in her life. What she did not expect was her first encounter with Julian Hayes at the company. During an internal meeting, Emma sat quietly in a corner, attentively taking notes on everything she needed to learn. When Julian entered the room, the entire atmosphere seemed to pause. He carried a natural air of authority, his sharp eyes scanning everyone present. Emma froze as she recognized the man she had rescued that night. She lowered her gaze, hoping he wouldn't notice her. But Julian had already seen her, and in that brief moment, his eyes flashed with surprise and curiosity. After the meeting, while Emma was gathering her materials, Julian approached her. "Emma Carter, right?" His voice was deep, warm, but sharp. She looked up, her heart pounding. "Yes, Mr. Hayes." "Welcome to Hayes Enterprises," he said, his eyes seeming to study her reaction. "Thank you, sir," Emma replied briefly, trying to maintain her professionalism. Julian nodded and walked away, but not without glancing back at her one more time. He knew she was surprised to see him, but he didn't want to reveal that he had been the one to arrange her position there. Over the following days, Julian quietly observed Emma. He was impressed by her hardworking and determined nature. Even though she was new, Emma quickly adapted to her role and even managed to impress her manager. One time when Emma was struggling with a challenging task, Julian happened to pass by her desk. He paused, looked at her screen and said, "I think you could solve this by simplifying the process. Give it a try." Emma looked up, slightly surprised by his unexpected help. "Thank you, sir. I'll try that." Julian gave a faint smile at her naivety. He knew he couldn't stay in the background forever, but he also wanted to give her the time to experience the confidence and success she had earned for herself. Within Julian, a strange feeling began to take root. For the first time in many years, he felt that someone could bring genuine change to his life. But did he have the courage to take things further? Emma, on the other hand, continued to focus on proving herself, unaware that fate was slowly pulling her and Julian closer together each day. As time passed, the interactions between Julian and Emma became increasingly natural and comfortable. At the office, though their relationship remained professional, small moments of interaction began to reveal sides of each other neither had ever anticipated. Are you still following the story? Leave a comment about where you're watching this video, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. One day, Julian invited Emma to join a new company project. It was an ambitious project, and Emma couldn't hide her anxiety as she accepted. "Do you really believe I can handle this?" Emma asked as Julian handed her the project documents. "I believe in you," Julian replied, his gaze sincere. "You have vision and determination. This is an opportunity for you to prove it." Julian's encouraging words gave Emma strength. Through their collaboration, Julian realized that Emma was not only intelligent, but also had a very practical perspective on life. This helped him see aspects of the world he had never paid attention to before. Once, during a meeting when senior managers were debating the budget, Emma boldly voiced her opinion. "If we invest in improving working conditions for employees, productivity will increase significantly," she said, her tone confident but still humble. Julian nodded, his eyes lighting up with satisfaction. "Good point, Emma. I want you to lead this effort. Do it well." Emma couldn't hide her surprise. To be trusted by Julian in such an important role was something she had never expected. Not only in work, but their conversations outside office hours also gradually became more personal. One afternoon, Emma happened to see Julian standing by the office window, his eyes distant as he gazed out at the city. "What are you thinking about?" Emma asked softly as she approached. Julian started, but then a faint smile appeared on his face. "Just thinking about the things I've missed in life. I used to believe that everything could be bought with money, but maybe I was wrong." Emma looked at him, her eyes filled with understanding. "Sometimes the most precious things are the simplest ones, Mr. Hayes." Julian chuckled lightly. "Just Julian. You can call me Julian." That simple statement seemed to bridge the gap between them. Emma began to see a different side of Julian, not the cold millionaire, but a genuine man who appreciated the little things. One evening, after completing a major project, Julian invited Emma to dinner to celebrate. Emma hesitated but eventually agreed. They chose a small restaurant, not luxurious but cozy. In the gentle light, Julian seemed different, not the powerful CEO, but a man trying to share something heartfelt. "Emma," he began, his voice warm and steady, "since you came into my life, everything has changed in ways I never anticipated. I've met many people, but none like you. You make me feel I can be better, that life can be more meaningful." Emma was stunned, her eyes wide. Julian continued, his gaze unwavering. "I think I've spent too long avoiding my feelings, but now I can't deny it anymore. I care about you, Emma, not just as a colleague or a friend." Emma didn't know what to say. Julian's words made her heart race, both touched and confused. "Julian, I really appreciate everything you've done for me, but we belong to two different worlds. I'm just an ordinary girl, and you—" Julian interrupted her. "You're not just an ordinary girl, Emma. You're extraordinary, and never think of yourself as less than anyone." Emma remained silent, her heart in turmoil. She could feel Julian's affection, but the disparity in their statuses made her hesitant. The evening ended in silence for both of them. Emma left the restaurant, her heart heavy with thoughts. As for Julian, he knew he had taken a risk, but he had no regrets. He believed that if his feelings were sincere enough, Emma would eventually open her heart. Their feelings for each other had begun to blossom, but the barriers of status and personal emotions made the journey ahead incredibly challenging. Late at night, the Hayes Enterprises office was quiet, with only a few lights on in some workrooms. Emma stayed late to finish an important report for a new project. While searching for a document in the filing cabinet, she happened upon an old folder mixed in with the current paperwork. Curious, Emma opened the folder. The words on the pages made her freeze. The document detailed a major business transaction by Julian's company, carried out many years ago. What shocked Emma was that this transaction had led to the bankruptcy of the small company where her father had worked. From that point, Emma's family had lost everything: her father's job, their home, and the stable future they once had. Emma's hands trembled as painful memories resurfaced. The arguments between her parents, their exhaustion as they tried to rebuild from nothing, all of it came flooding back. She couldn't believe that the man she trusted, the man she had begun to develop feelings for, was connected to the deepest pain of her life. The next morning, Emma couldn't focus on her work. She decided to confront Julian. The moment she stepped into his office, Emma's eyes were filled with anger and hurt. "Julian, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice colder than ever. Julian looked up from his computer screen, immediately sensing that something was wrong. "Emma, what's the matter? You don't look well." Emma placed the folder on his desk, her voice trembling but resolute. "Can you explain this?" Julian glanced at the folder, his expression changing as he realized what it was about. "Emma, Don't tell me you didn't know about this," Emma interrupted, tears streaming down her face. "You destroyed my family. This transaction caused my father to lose his job, caused us to lose our home. And yet you dared to stand in front of me, pretending to be sincere, as if you genuinely cared about me." Julian stood up, his eyes filled with regret. "Emma, please let me explain. At that time, I was only trying to save the company. I had no idea your family was one of the victims." "You didn't know?" Emma laughed bitterly. "So it's fine as long as you didn't know, right? As long as you saved your company, people like my family didn't matter at all." Julian stepped closer, but Emma backed away. "Emma, I can't change the past, but I can assure you that I never intended to hurt your family. I'm not the same person I was back then." "But you can't erase what happened," Emma said, her voice breaking. "Do you even know how much I trusted you? Trusted that you were different, that you genuinely cared about me. But now, I don't know what to believe anymore." Julian remained silent, looking at Emma with pain in his eyes. "I'm not asking you to forgive me, but Emma, please don't walk away without giving me a chance to make things right." Emma shook her head, her eyes red and swollen. "I can't pretend nothing happened. I need time, Julian, and I need distance." She turned and walked away, leaving Julian standing there, his heart heavy. For the first time in years, Julian felt powerless. He had lost Emma, the woman who had brought meaning to his life. From that day forward, Emma kept her distance from Julian. She focused on her work, but the pain still lingered in her eyes. Every time she saw Julian in meetings or hallways, the old wounds would resurface. Julian didn't try to push her. Instead, he began searching for ways to make amends. He asked Simon, his trusted assistant, to investigate whether the small company Emma's father had worked for could still be revived. He also quietly donated to funds supporting small businesses impacted during that crisis. Despite his efforts, nothing could erase the sense of loss he felt without Emma by his side. Julian realized that to salvage this relationship, he needed not only to change, but also to prove that his love for Emma was genuine. Both were deeply hurt, but was their love strong enough to overcome the past? The road ahead was filled with challenges, and the answer remained uncertain. By this point, can you guess where the story's headed? If you're curious, hit like and comment cafe to let us know you're following along on this journey. Julian Hayes, once a symbol of decisiveness and power, now felt powerless in the face of his crumbling relationship with Emma. But he refused to let himself give up. If the past was the reason Emma had walked away, He would do everything he could to make amends. In his office, Julian combed through old transaction records, investigating every detail to fully understand the impact it had caused. He discovered that the deal had led to the bankruptcy of the company where Emma's father had worked, severely affecting many other families as well. Julian decided to find a way to provide restitution. He reached out to former employees of the company, investigated their current circumstances, and offered financial assistance to help them rebuild their lives. But most importantly, he wanted to express his heartfelt remorse to Emma's family. One afternoon, Julian went to Emma's house. The small home was in a modest neighborhood, yet it exuded warmth and familiarity. He carried a bouquet of flowers and a small gift bag. When the door opened, Mrs. Rose, with kind but slightly surprised eyes, stood before him. "And you are?" she asked, her voice gentle but curious. "I'm Julian Hayes," he said, his voice deep and sincere. "I've come to apologize and to express my regret for what my company caused to your family." Mrs. Rose invited Julian into the house. He sat across from her in the small but tidy living room. Julian carefully recounted the entire story, explaining that he had not known Emma's family was one of the victims of the old transaction. He pledged to make amends, not just with financial compensation, but also through long-term support programs for those affected. "I don't expect you or Emma to forgive me right away," he said, his eyes filled with remorse. "But I want to prove that I truly regret my actions and am committed to making things right." Mrs. Rose remained silent for a moment, her eyes seeming to peer into Julian's soul. "You seem like a sincere person, Julian," she said. "But remember, forgiveness requires not just words, but also time and actions." Julian nodded, feeling the weight of her words. Emma had no idea that Julian had visited her grandmother. When Mrs. Rose recounted the visit, Emma was both surprised and conflicted. Her initial reaction was anger, that Julian had approached her family without notifying her, but as she heard what he had said and done, she couldn't deny the sincerity in his actions. "What do you think of him?" Emma asked, trying to hide her curiosity in her tone. Mrs. Rose smiled, placing her hand on Emma's. "My dear, Julian is not a perfect man, but I see genuine remorse and a determination to make amends in him. That is worth considering." Emma felt torn. Part of her was still hurt by what had happened, but another part acknowledged Julian's efforts and transformation. She couldn't deny that he had given her the opportunity to work and helped her regain confidence in herself. She spent a great deal of time reflecting on their relationship. She remembered the moments when Julian cared for her during stressful times, the times he listened and encouraged her. Yet the painful past remained a shadow over every hope for the future. One evening, while sitting next to her grandmother, Emma poured out her heart. "I don't know what to do, Grandma. He says he loves me, but how can I love someone who was the cause of my family's suffering?" Mrs. Rose quietly smiled, her eyes gentle. "Emma, loving someone doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means seeing who they are now. If you feel Julian's sincerity, then listen to your heart. Forgiveness doesn't mean erasing the past. It means giving both of you a chance to start over." Emma sighed, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "But what if I get hurt again?" "You'll never know unless you try, Emma," Mrs. Rose said. "And if he truly loves you, he won't hurt you again." In the following days, Julian didn't give up on his efforts to make amends. He tried to talk to Emma, but she kept her distance, responding to him only briefly during company meetings. Julian didn't blame her for that. He understood that rebuilding trust would take time. He continued to support Emma's family indirectly. Mrs. Rose's medical expenses were covered through a charitable fund Julian quietly set up. He also sent messages to Emma through small gestures, a bouquet of flowers, a note of encouragement when she worked late. Emma noticed these efforts and gradually felt Julian's sincerity. But was it enough for her to overcome her old wounds? She knew the answer lay within herself, whether she had the courage to give Julian another chance. Julian's journey of redemption and Emma's inner struggle continued to open new doors for both of them. But would they find a way to heal their relationship? Everything depended on Emma's choice, to listen to her pain or to her heart. On a rainy afternoon, Emma sat by the window, watching the raindrops trickle outside. After many days of soul-searching, she decided to confront Julian once again. She needed to hear from him directly. Not just an explanation, but why he was making such an effort. Emma sent Julian a short and clear message. We need to talk. Meet me at the cafe near the park at 6 p.m. Julian received the message while in a meeting. Despite his packed schedule, he immediately put everything aside. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for, and he couldn't let it slip away. At the cafe, Emma arrived first, choosing a table by the window. When Julian walked in, he wasn't dressed in his usual suit, but instead wore a simple white shirt and slacks, giving him a more approachable appearance than usual. Thank you for coming, Emma began, her voice calm but cautious. Julian sat down, his gaze gentle but filled with worry. Thank you for giving me this chance. Emma took a deep breath. I want to hear everything, no holding back. Why have you been trying so hard? And why me? Julian hesitated for a moment before answering. Emma, I've spent my entire life in a world where everything is measured by money and power. But meeting you, a person who didn't know who I was, who didn't care about what I owned, made me realize how much I was truly lacking. You saved me, not just from that car, but from my old self. You made me want to become a better person. Emma looked directly into his eyes, searching for sincerity. What about the past? Do you realize how much it has affected me and my family? Julian nodded, his eyes filled with regret. I know, and I deeply regret it. If I could go back, I would do everything differently. But I can't. All I can do now is make amends step by step, not just for you, but for myself as well. I need to right my wrongs. Emma was silent for a long time, letting his words sink in. She couldn't deny that Julian had changed. It wasn't just his efforts to make up for the past, but also the genuine sincerity in his eyes. Julian, she said, her voice gentle but firm, I can't forget the past, but I can forgive. What I need from you is absolute honesty. I don't want any secrets between us anymore. If you're truly serious about this relationship, we need to start over, building it on trust. Julian grasped Emma's hand tightly, his eyes lighting up with hope. I promise, Emma, no more secrets. I will always be honest with you, and I'll do everything I can to never let you down. Emma gave a small smile, feeling lighter for the first time in days. Then let's start over, step by step. After their conversation, the two decided to take a walk in the nearby park. Under the drizzling sky, they strolled slowly, their footsteps bringing them closer together. Julian shared with Emma what he had done to make amends for her family and others affected by the old transaction. He talked about the community projects he was undertaking, not just out of guilt, but because he genuinely wanted to change. Emma could feel Julian's determination and sincerity. Despite his wealth, she no longer saw him as someone out of reach. He had become someone truly approachable, a man she could trust. For her part, Emma also began to open up, telling Julian about the struggles she had faced while caring for her grandmother and her fear of losing her independence. Julian listened attentively, without judgment, simply being there to support her. I'd like to meet Mrs. Rose, Julian said as they paused by the lake. I want her to see that I genuinely want to be a part of your life. Emma smiled, her eyes filled with newfound trust. She'll like you as long as you bring a beautiful bouquet of flowers. In the days that followed, Julian and Emma slowly rebuilt their relationship. Julian kept his promise, hiding nothing from Emma. He even invited her to join a major charity project where they worked together to help those in need. Emma not only felt Julian's love for her, but also saw him truly becoming a better person. He was no longer a cold millionaire focused solely on profits, but a man with a heart full of compassion and a desire to give back. One evening, while sitting together on a bench in the small garden, Julian held Emma's hand, his eyes full of emotion. Emma, I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I want you by my side every step of the way. You are the one who has helped me find true meaning in life. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder, smiling. And you've helped me believe that love can overcome any obstacle. We'll make it, Julian, as long as we're always honest with each other. Under the gentle moonlight, they began a new chapter of their lives, a chapter built on trust, forgiveness, and sincere love. As time passed, Emma became increasingly confident in her role at the company. With Julian's dedicated guidance, she not only became an outstanding employee, but also played an important role in improving the company's workplace culture. She proposed initiatives to balance profitability with social responsibility, something Julian was more than willing to support. Influenced by Emma, Julian also changed the way he managed the company. He implemented new policies to support employees and expanded charitable programs. Under his leadership, Hayes Enterprises became not only a symbol of business success, but also a beacon of humanity and generosity. Emma and Julian shared joy not only in their work, but also in their daily lives. Evening walks in the park, cooking together, and participating in charity projects strengthened their bond. One evening, under the soft lights in their backyard garden, Julian prepared a romantic dinner. Emma was surprised to see the table adorned with her favorite white flowers and candlelight, reflecting on her simple yet elegant dress. As the dinner neared its end, Julian stood up and took a small velvet box from his pocket. Kneeling on one knee, his eyes tenderly gazed at Emma. "Emma, you've changed my life in ways I never imagined. You're not just my inspiration. You're the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Will you marry me?" Emma couldn't hold back her tears. She nodded, her lips trembling with a smile. "I will." The wedding took place in a warm and intimate setting, just as they had wished. The ceremony was held in a small garden by the lake, attended by their closest family and friends. Emma wore a simple but elegant wedding dress, her eyes glowing with happiness. Julian, in a dashing suit, couldn't take his eyes off her. When they exchanged their vows, their voices were filled with emotion. "Julian," Emma said, "you've taught me how to love, trust, and open my heart. I promise to always be by your side, sharing every joy and challenge in life." "Emma," Julian replied, "you've helped me find the true meaning of love and life. I promise to always love, protect, and respect you, from this day forward and forever." Grandmother Rose sat in the front row, her face beaming with pride and contentment. As Emma walked down the aisle after exchanging rings, she took her hand and whispered, "I'm so proud of you, Emma. You deserve every happiness in the world." After the wedding, Emma and Julian enjoyed their honeymoon in a small seaside village, where they could escape the busyness of city life and savor peaceful moments together. When they returned, they continued their work with renewed inspiration. Together, they expanded their charity projects, supporting education and healthcare for those in need. One afternoon, as the sun began to set beyond the horizon, Emma and Julian sat together on a bench in their small garden. A light breeze carried the fragrance of the flowers Emma had planted. "We've come a long way," Julian said, his gaze thoughtful as he looked toward the sunset. "And I know that whatever challenges lie ahead will be easier because you're by my side." Emma leaned her head on his shoulder, smiling happily. "And I know that as long as we're honest with each other and never give up, we can overcome anything." Under the radiant sunset, two people from different worlds held hands, ready to face whatever life had in store for them. Their story was not only a journey of love, but also a testament to forgiveness, courage, and the power of faith. The story of Emma and Julian has come to an end, but their love and forgiveness will always be a valuable lesson. If you found this story meaningful, please hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to our channel to spread positive messages. Would you like to see more touching stories like this? Leave a comment and share your thoughts. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss any of our videos. Thank you for watching. Stay with us to discover more inspiring stories. See you in the next video.